What we refer to as hunger can be experienced in different ways. At its essence, it is a painful sensation caused by not eating enough food. The inability to obtain food in the face of hunger is a grievous violation of right to food. But many people who are not hungry may be food insecure. This means they may be forced to reduce the quality or quantity of food they eat. Per the Prevalence of Undernourishment Indicator, 735 million people faced hunger in 2022. The United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, has taken upon itself to rid the world of hunger and malnutrition. Here's country representative to Ghana, Dr. Yedi Yasmi, outlining some measures taken to ensure that Ghana's contribution to the Global Hunger Index reduces. October 16th is marked as World Food Day. Can you tell us the importance of this day?
Yeah, 16th of October was the founding date of FAO in 1945, just after the World War II. Now we commemorate the 16th of October as the World Food Day. Globally, over 150 countries celebrate 16th of October to raise awareness on the importance of food in our life.
How would you assess food is important, but then Ghana with the Russia-Ukraine war, with a few factors, we are struggling a bit with production. How do you assess food security in Ghana, considering that we are about to celebrate World Food Day?
Yeah, food is very important, not only for Ghana, but for the whole world globally. With various shocks that we are facing, including, as you said, the war in Ukraine, climate change, conflicts, migrations, and whatnot, right? We are experiencing serious challenges in terms of food. For Ghana, it is unfortunate that because of this war in Ukraine, we have seen an increase prices of our food commodities. It is because, the distribution of the food globally was interrupted by the war, and it's also the fact that we import a lot of food from outside. This has causes inflation. It has causes a number of important crops and food prices increase in Ghana. This is the situation. So what does it mean for us? It is important that Ghana to be self-sufficient in terms of the key food commodities. It is also important for Ghana to start thinking on how they can be self-sufficient, for example, in terms of the fertilizers. We are importing quite a bit of fertilizers as well.
What has FAO done in this regard to help Ghana's food security?
FAO has been in Ghana since 1959. Okay? We are working with the government closely to support sustainable agriculture, to support sustainable management of natural resources, and also to build resilience of agri-food system to various shocks like climate change, COVID-19, and other shocks that are becoming so regular now. So what FAO have been doing is working hand in hand with the government to build good policies, good agricultural policies, to build capacities of the agri-food systems in Ghana, and to work together through various projects. For example, through projects on food security, on nutrition, on fisheries, on forestries, and on livestock. So we are pretty much working together with the government on all these aspects in Ghana.
I think in 2015 World Food Day, the theme was on climate change. The climate is changing, so agriculture must change. And if we talk about agriculture changing, we can't leave technology or innovation out. In this regard, what's your perspective, and how is FAO also contributing in this regard to helping Ghanaians, include technology in agriculture, taking into consideration you are in talks or you're in the process of implementing the solar irrigation?
Yeah, climate change is now a reality. We cannot deny that there is no climate change. Okay, when we need water, we do not have it. When we do not need so much water, we have flooding in Ghana. We have seen in recent times, we have floods in Accra, right? So the weather patterns has changed, which causes a lot of challenges for our agriculture. In this case, we need to bring in knowledge, science, and innovation to our agriculture. How can we, for example, introduce drought-tolerant varieties of soybeans, of maize, because water is becoming scarce? This can only be possible if we work hand in hand with research organizations, with universities. Secondly, water is not available every time. In northern Ghana, the rainy season is only once. People or farmers can only produce one cycle per year, unlike in southern Ghana, where we can produce 2 crops per year. So in this case, one of the innovation that FAO is bringing in is to introduce green technologies of irrigation, what we call solar panel irrigation, which should be and is accessible to farmers at a lower cost, and also technologically it is very simple.
In all this, how are you factoring women empowerment?
We work a lot with women's groups. For us, women are very important. In agricultures, the backbone of agriculture is actually women. We see it in the rural areas, how important women are for agricultures. They are the one who actually sow the seed, prepare the lands, and they play important role throughout agri-food system, from production to trade, and also in informal sectors. So in this way, FAO has been working a lot with women entrepreneurs as well, but also with women groups in local level. We share knowledge with them. We build their capacity on certain aspects. I give you an example. We are working with women fishery producers. We train them how to do packaging, how to market their products with better qualities. So FAO really put importance to the role of women in our agri-food system.
FAO is, is more like a technical advisor to government. Break it down for us. To the layman, what exactly do you do for the country?
Yes, FAO works a lot with the government because we are United Nations, right? So the way we work with the government is based on priorities that we set together with the government through what we call country programming framework. So this country programming frameworks is a document that set priorities for FAO intervention in Ghana. This document is a result of a multi-stakeholder consultations, of course, most importantly with the government of Ghana. So what do we do with the government? We support the government to develop policies. We support the government to pilot projects on the grounds. We support the government, through knowledge exchanges. So we are doing a lot of things with the government, from what we call normative activities, like bringing in knowledge, to practical activities on the ground. In many cases, we are also helping bringing in seeds, new machineries, supporting the government with storage, So there are a range of activities that we are working together. So as FAO, it is our role to support agricultural transformation that the government is leading. It is important to keep in mind that it is the government that is leading.
You talked about storage. Can you enlighten us a little? Can you elaborate on how FAO provides storage? Because should there be a food crisis in Ghana, I don't think we really have enough warehouses or enough food stored out at places that we can just go and tap in.
Yeah, throughout the world, FAO works through the whole value chain of agri-food system. Okay, after you harvest your agriculture products, some of them cannot last long because they get, for example, rotten, right? So in many circumstances, and including in our own country in Ghana, many of farmers cannot have to sell the products immediately, otherwise it will be a problem, right? So as part of our initiative, storage is important in agriculture because you can put your products for longer time, and you can choose when you want to sell it to the market. When the price is too low because there are so much on the market, you can hold it in the storage. So as part of this activity, and also government feels the importance of the storage, we try to support not only from various aspects, technically what kind of storage that you need, how to design it, where to put it. You cannot put storages everywhere, right? It's expensive. How do you work with local farmers or farmer groups? So these are some elements that we are working together with the government.
Talk of perishable goods, isn't it long overdue? I mean, in most developed countries, they're able to process it. How would you assess Ghana's progress in this regard, in sustaining perishable goods or processing them? And then there's this technology, from the Dutch. They talk about cold rooms, having convertible cold rooms, movable cold rooms. What do you also make of that?
Yeah, I think these facilities are important, especially in times that we live now with climate change. The perishable products can be damaged, in a relatively short time. I think we have no options. We have to introduce these technologies like cold storage, because this cold storage play an important role in the whole value chain, to store our products, to distribute it when we need to distribute it, right? I think Ghana makes progress on this, but we have a lot to do, because the cold storage availability nationwide need to be ensured over time. So I think it is important that government invest in this.
Let me take you back a little to the point where FAO is a technical advisor. With the planting for food and jobs, we are in the second phase. How would you assess the first phase as a policy, maker, and what suggestions did you give to government for the second phase?
Yes, Planting for Food and Jobs is the flagship programs of our government in agriculture, in particular for the Ministry of Food and Agriculture. During the first phase of the PFJ, we learned a lot, right? We learned what worked, we learned what system that could be improved. So in my view, the second phase of the Planting for Food and Jobs has captured this lesson learned. As we all know, at the moment, the Planting for Food and Jobs will focus on 10 crops. They include vegetables, millets, but also they now added poultry, right? So I think, in my view, the PFJ 2.0 is a strategic program, is important for Ghana. There are a lot of thought behind these programs. Government has clear ideas of what to be produced, how much and how. Government has also put the system of the input credit systems, working with aggregators, working with financial institutions. So these are some of the improvement, from the PFJ first phase. In my view, the PFJ phase 1 put the foundation for the PFJ.2, a lot will be improved. And in my view, it is important that all stakeholders involved in agriculture join hand to support the government to ensure that this PFJ 2.0 is a success for the benefit of the people of Ghana.
So you're optimistic that 2.0 would yield the necessary results?
I'm an optimistic person, and as FAO, we are working very closely with the government. We are committed to supporting the PFJ.2. All our programs and project in Ghana is aligned with PFJ.2, including our recent projects of 10 million euros supported by the European delegation to Ghana, is really to support this PFJ.2.
Okay, talk of funds. As an institution, how do you ensure accountability of the funds you give out? Do you engage in some monitoring and evaluation? How do you go about it?
Yes, FAO received their funding from government, publics, and private sectors. FAO uses this funding, for impact. We operate through what we call a project cycle with strong monitoring and evaluation. Every dollar that we send will have to be accounted for. So rest assured, all the projects that we are doing has a very strong elements of monitoring and evaluation, because FAO commits whatever we are doing using public's funding or private funding or funding that we receive from philanthropic organizations yield the benefit that we want.
Do you also monitor funds you've given to government in implementing some projects or some? I believe even the PFJ too, aside being a technical advisor, you probably gave some funds to support due to the fact that this time is an input system.
It's input credit system.
Yeah, input credit system. So
yeah, FAO, working together with the government. We are not a funding institution. I have to get this point straight. So we do not support government by giving them funding as such. In cases where we actually have funding agreement, we develop the program together. So we do give, for example, letter of agreements to agencies to implement part of the project, for example, for piloting or capacity building, but we develop the programs together. With this amount of funding that we commit in the letter of agreement, what are the deliverables? So it is not just like we are giving funding and then we go. No, we do it with the government. From FAO perspective, working with the government is really through partnership. So we don't just give money and then we go. No, because our strength is not in the funding. Our strength is in the technical capacity.
Okay, let's talk about food inflation. Having enough to eat, as World Food Day is coming, means having enough to eat, ending or reaching zero hunger as part of the SDGs. What's your point about Ghana's current food inflation, considering that food inflation is one of the highest contributors to general inflation in this country, and how can government minimize this problem?
All the shocks that we have been experiencing in the last years, let's say since COVID, and then the war in Ukraine, has been a wake-up call for governments, not only in Ghana but worldwide. We learned that our food system is interconnected. One shocks in one place impacts, global food systems. So, in my view, governments globally have learned the significance or the importance of producing enough food locally. During COVID, for example, people tended to eat local food. They tended to eat, what they produce locally. In the future, I think, what we need to ensure is to improve our agri-food system to become more resilient. We will be having more shocks in the futures. Let's get this straight, right? We will be having more shocks from climatic change, from changes of weather patterns. We never know. We might end up having yet another pandemic, right? So learning from this experience, I think government has tightened their belt. What is it that my countries can be, what is it the comparative advantages of my countries? For example, Ghana, you are very good on soybeans. This is an element that is part of the PFJ 2.0. You are very good in cocoa, right? So there are some low-hanging fruits there. With a little bit of intervention, you will be relatively better than other countries, and even you can export, you can support, food security in other countries. So important point is being aware that shocks will come, being prepared for the future shocks, and being more resilient throughout the value system, the agri-food value chain system.
We have, as a country, we've been faced with illegal mining and plastic pollution, destroying our water bodies. If our water bodies are now brown, and a recent documentary Joy News is working on is where people, or at places where they consume this water bodies directly, are giving birth to deformed babies. What is the way forward? How can we change this narrative going forward? What should be done to prevent, our water bodies from being this polluted?
We have to realize, that water systems are interconnected with other systems. Water systems do not exist in a vacuum in our environment. It connects to agriculture, it connects to industries, it connects to other systems. So what does it mean? It means that whatever we are doing on our industrial sector will impact waters. Whatever we are doing to our forests will impact waters. Whatever we are doing on our mining, gold mining, very famous in Ghana, will impact our water. I think time has come for policymakers in Ghana to work hand in hand, to go beyond sectoral approach. Mining, agriculture, water resources management, ministry that work on population will need to come together. Once we pollute our water systems, it takes years. It takes hundreds of years and a lot of effort and money to bring it back. So my message is very simple. Let's protect our water, use it efficiently. Everybody has the responsibility, even us as individual, right? We need to consume less water. We need to participate in activities that would conserve water. For example, cleaning up our rivers, cleaning up our lakes, using less plastic. Do not throw away your rubbish into the water system, because some of these, in particular, those that have matters that are difficult to decompose, like plastic, will take generations, to clean up. So this is why I'm saying, we are running out of time. We need to act now to really save our water in order to save our life.
One other subsector in agriculture that we barely talk about is livestock, but then I understand FAO has a project with Ministry of Food and Agriculture. Can you elaborate on that for me?
Yes, In Ghana and for most part of Africa, livestock is an important sector. Many people depend on their livelihoods on the livestock. In Ghana, we are working to support the Ministry for Food and Agriculture on different aspects. Okay, one of the projects that we are working is on transboundary diseases. For example, recently we had cases of anthrax. So we are supporting the laboratories to identify the existence of anthrax and take measure to prevent it through a project called ECTAT. You know, this is a transboundary diseases initiative. We are supporting various governments in Africa, including in Ghana, and in fact, the regional team is here in Ghana, to ensure that we implement the so-called One Health approach, because those diseases do not recognize, administrative boundaries. It can travel between Ghana, Togo, Benin, and even as far as other countries. So we are building capacities of various stakeholders in these transboundary diseases. We are supporting laboratories with equipment, with technical experts. We are also working on policy levels, how to make sure that these transboundary diseases becoming a policy priorities for many countries, including in Ghana. So this is just one example. Of course, we are working also with the livestock, communities to help them, for example, to produce healthy milk, to produce, sustainable feed system, to build their capacity on marketing, and also to promote sustainable livestock production. We do not want livestock to destroy nature like forest or other systems.
Okay. Feed production has also been one of the challenges in livestock sector. And what's your opinion about this? Because, especially during when the Russia-Ukraine war was at its peak, or when it started, most of players in that subsector were struggling. Why do you think that was so?
We import a lot of feed from outside Ghana. What I would like to say in short is that in order for our livestock to be sustainable, feed must be integrated in our livestock systems. There are technologies to produce locally and environmentally friendly feed. Oftentimes when we talk about feed, it is about agriculture, right? So in my view, this is also again as a wake-up call. How do we see livestock as an integrated, endeavor? It's not only to talk about the production, but also to talk about the feed as an integral part of it.
Conversations surrounding hunger are never ending. That is why the Food and Agriculture Organization instituted the World Food Day to continuously raise awareness. That's it for Food Chain. My name is Emma Davis.